Hi everyone. Today I like to discuss about the atherosclerosis and also pathogenesis of hypertension. And before start with that, we need to discuss about the structure of blood vessels and the salient features and the functions of the endothelial cells. So the structure of blood vessels. Blood vessels are of two types. They are mainly low pressure type of vessels and the high pressure type of vessels. Low pressure type of vessels and the high pressure type of vessels. Low pressure type of vessels are the large vein, medium vein venules and the post capillary venules, and the high pressure vessels are the aorta, muscular artery and the arterioles. And if we see the structure of the blood vessels, that contains three components. One is the tunica intima, tunica media and tunica adventitia. Tunica adventitia is the outermost part, tunica media is the middle part, and the tunica intima is the innermost part. Tunica media contain the muscles, and tunica media is more thick in case of the low pressure vessels of the veins, and it is more thick in case of the muscular arteries. And other one part is also present, that is called the capillaries, which contain pericytes, and there are more fenestrations present in the capillaries. And there is also another part is present that in the blood vessels, that is the internal elastic lamina, and another is the external elastic lamina. It is also present here. This diagram is present in the Robbins. There is low pressure vessels. There is the lumen, adventitia, intima, and this is the high pressure vessels. And you can see that the tunica media part is so thick. Tunica media is more muscular. You see that. Now next is the endothelium. Endothelium is different in different segment of our body. If we see the brain, there is blood brain barrier, and that is made by the astrocytes, and it is impervious type of endothelium. But if we see the renal glomeruli, there are lots of fenestrations. They are present podocytes, and they made this. So there are various type of endotheliums depending on where it is present. In case of liver, we see sinusoids. There are also lots of fenestrations. Now the other functions that have a non-thrombotic surface to maintain the blood in a fluid state, and it also metabolize the hormones such as the angiotensin and regulate the inflammation. So it mainly produce or release two type of metabolite. One is the nitric oxide, which is a relaxing factor, and another is the endothelin, which is a contraction factor. Now if we see the endothelium, this is our endothelium, and there are, if it is in normal condition, in normal tension, there is laminar flow of the blood, and the growth factors like the vascular endothelial growth factors are released. In the basal state, that is non-adhesive, that is non-thrombogenic surface. And in case of there is turbulent flow, hypertension, cytokines, complement bacterial products, lipid products, advanced glycation end products, hypoxia, acidosis, viruses, or the cigarette smoking. This type of adverse conditions or pathological conditions if present, then there is increased expression of the procoagulants, adhesive molecules, pro-inflammatory factors, altered expression of the chemokines, and there is this is called the activated state of endothelium. So there is release of many type of cytokines and growth factors which is present, and this is the basic pathogenesis for the atherosclerosis. There will be damage. When there will be some type of damage in the endothelium, there will be activation of the endothelium, and there many types of cytokines and the growth factors are released, and there is the inflammation of the endothelium, and this is the part of pathogenesis of the atherosclerosis. Now if we see the key points in response to the vascular injury, Robin says that all vessels are lined by the endothelium, although all endothelial cells are certain homeostatic properties. Like what I say, that endothelial cells in specific vascular beds have special features that allows to tissue specific functions. Fenestrated endothelial cells which are present in the renal glomeruli. Now the main important part is this, that the recruitment, when injury of almost any type of the vessel wall result in a stereotyped healing response, which is involves smooth muscle cells proliferation, extracellular matrix deposition, and the intimal expansion. So there is smooth muscle cell proliferation happen, and there is extracellular matrix deposition, and there is intimal expansion, which is seen in case of atherosclerosis. And the recruitment and activation of the smooth muscle cells involves signals from the cells, endothelial cells, platelets, and the macrophages, as well as the mediators derived from the coagulation and the complement cascades. Excessive thickening of the intima may result in the luminal stenosis and the vascular obstruction. This is also a fate of atherosclerosis. Next, if we see this diagram, there is this is our smooth muscle cells, and this is our tunica intima, tunica media, and the smooth muscle cells are proliferated and they are going into the tunica media part, and tunica media is more thickened. Yes, and more extracellular matrix deposition. Now, before going into atherosclerosis, we need to know some basic points about the hypertension. Hypertension is mainly of two types. One is the essential type of hypertension, another is the secondary hypertension. Secondary hypertension is basically have any type of cause. Hypertension having a cause behind that is called the secondary hypertension, but essential hypertension does not have any specific cause. Essential hypertension is more common, it accounts for 90 to 95%, but the secondary hypertension, it is rare. It have any type of underlying disease like renal disease like renal artery stenosis, or renal vasculitis, or renin producing tumors, or acute glomerulonephritis, or chronic renal disease, polycystic disease. So these are the basic cause for the secondary hypertension. Renal kidney pathology is very much important pathogenesis for secondary hypertension. Now next is the endocrine cause. Endocrine cause more important in case of the adrenocorticoid adrenocortical hyperfunction, like the Cushing syndrome, primary hyperaldosteronism, and exogenous hormone like glucocorticoid, estrogen, sympathomimetic action of some type of drugs, MAO inhibitor usage, pheochromocytoma, acromegaly, hyperthyroidism. Cardiovascular cause are the coarctation of aorta, polyarteritis nodosa, and there is increased intravascular volume. When there is increased intravascular volume, that is also causes that. Now what is important part, that is the neurogenic cause. Neurogenic cause is also important, like psychological, sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea, it is very important cause for hypertension, because when there is obstructive sleep apnea, there is sympathomimetic action, there is more adrenaline rush and more activation of sympathetic system, so there will be, and also more cortisol release in the blood, so these are causing more chances to increase hypertension. And also acute stress and surgery. Rigidity of aorta is also very much important, which is seen in case of old age hypertension. Now next, what factors causing increased blood pressure? Blood pressure is mainly a physiological component which is the product of two things. One is the cardiac output and another is the total peripheral resistance. Now cardiac output depends on the blood volume. Cardiac output depends on the blood volume. There is sodium, there is mineralocorticoids, and there is the atrial natriuretic peptide, ANP. So these causing more volume preservation, so these are increasing the blood volume, sodium, mineralocorticoid, and they also mineralocorticoids like the so what we like to say, that blood volume is increased by the sodium and the mineralocorticoids like the aldosterone, which more preserve the water in our body, but the atrial natriuretic peptide, which is released from the atrium part of the heart in case of volume overload, and that increases more water loss through the kidney. So these components are involved in maintaining our blood volume. Now the next thing is that is called the cardiac factor. Cardiac factor, there is the heart rate and there is the contractility. More contractility, more cardiac output. Yes, and heart rate and the contractility, that is more important as a cardiac factor. Now the humoral factor. Humoral factor is the constrictors and the dilators. Constrictor are the angiotensin II, catecholamines, thromboxane, leukotrienes, and the endothelin. And the dilators are the prostaglandins, kinins, and NO. These are very important part. These are mentioned in the Robbins, and these are also the MCQs in case of NEET PG. That is constrictor, that is angiotensin II is very important, catecholamines, thromboxane, leukotrienes, and the endothelin. And this is the prostaglandins, kinins, and NO. These are affecting the peripheral resistance, and also our sympathetic system, that is the alpha adrenergic part, which constricts, and the beta stimulation, particular beta 2 receptors, these are the vasodilators. And there is the local factors tar moddhe, and the local factors, that is the the hypoxia, autoregulation, pH control. These are also important in maintaining the pressure in our body. Now next thing is that the autoregulation in our body, as mentioned in this picture of Robbins. That is if in our body there is volume overload, blood pressure is increased, then volume overload is sensed by the atrium of the heart, and that causing release of the atrial natriuretic peptide which act on the kidney and causing excess loss of sodium and water, causing decreasing in blood volume, also causing the vasodilation. So these are causing decreasing in our blood pressure, and when there is decrease in the blood pressure, there is release of renin from our kidney, and also angiotensinogen from our, and this renin act on the liver and causing release of the angiotensinogen, which converted into angiotensin 1 by the renin, and angiotensin 1 is converted to the angiotensin 2 by the angiotensin converting enzyme, ACE enzyme, which is present in the endothelium of the lungs. And this angiotensin 2 act on the adrenal gland, and release of the aldosterone happen, which act on the kidney, which causing preservation of water, more absorption of sodium and water, and increasing the blood volume, and it also is a potent vasoconstrictor, so blood pressure is maintained. Increase in the volume is also causing by the hyperaldosteronism, and increased sodium level is caused by the Liddle syndrome, that is pseudo hyperaldosteronism, Batter syndrome, and the Gitelman syndrome, and increased resistance is caused by the pheochromocytoma. So these parts are also important. Now these are the basics of the hypertension, pathology of the hypertension. Now we have to know about the, and another thing is very important which we need to know before atherosclerosis, that is called the arteriosclerosis. That is called our arteriosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis is the thickening or the hardening of the arteries. Arteriosclerosis is basically of two types. One is the hyaline type, another is the hyperplastic type. Hyperplastic is more proliferation of the muscular part of the blood vessel, and hyaline arteriosclerosis, it is basically there is hyaline deposition. What is hyaline? Hyaline is a proteinaceous material which is leaked out from the blood vessel and deposited around the blood vessel. It is indication for the benign type of hypertension. And hyperplastic arteriosclerosis, it is indication of malignant type of hypertension. And in case of light microscopy, we see in case of hyaline arteriosclerosis, that is a pink hyaline type of material is present surrounding the arterioles, and in case of hyperplastic arteriosclerosis, there is the fibrinoid necrosis. There is fibrinoid type of necrosis, and there is concentric laminated thickening of the arteriolar wall. Concentric laminated thickening, like concentric laminated thickening. It is just look like onion skin appearance. It is just look like onion skin appearance, and it is very much important. It is asked many times in NEET PG. And next thing is that is the monkey bug medial calcific sclerosis. Monkey bug's medial calcific sclerosis. That is the calcification of the walls of the muscular arterioles. If we take X-ray of that person, we can see that there is calcification like a tubular calcified part. We can see the blood vessel. We normally we do not see the blood vessel because it is a soft tissue. It do not identified in the X-ray. But in case of monkey bug medial calcific sclerosis, we can see the monkey bug calcific sclerosis. We can see the blood vessels because there is calcific deposition. calcification of the blood vessel, muscular part of the blood vessel, usually seen in the ages more than 50 years. It is clinically insignificant. Now this is the pathological image of the benign type of this is the benign type of arteriosclerosis, and this is the onion skin appearance of the hyperplastic arteriosclerosis. Now what are the risk factors? What are the risk factors for the arteriosclerosis? One is the non-modifiable risk factor, one is the modifiable risk factor. One is the modifiable, another is the non-modifiable. Non-modifiable is genetic abnormality, family history, male gender, type A personality. Type A personality, it is a modifiable because we can change our personality, and the increasing age, and modifiable personality, it is a non-modifiable constitutional factor. I am sorry. And then the hyperlipidemia, hypertension, cigarette smoking, diabetes, and the inflammation. This is the modifiable type of risk factors. Modifiable type of risk factors. Now if we see the pathogenesis, of atherosclerosis in the blood vessel anatomy, there is endothelium. This is the endothelium, this is endothelium, this is the this is endothelium, this is media, and this is our media, and this is our adventitia. So first there is endothelium, then the intima layer, then the media layer, then the adventitia layer. These three layers from inward to outward. Now the chronic endothelial injury. Now chronic endothelial injury, if there is chronic endothelial injury, there is that can be the hyperlipidemia, hypertension, smoking, or hypertension, smoking, homocystinuria, or the hemodynamic factors, toxins, viruses, or immune reactions. If any type of this factor is present, this causing the chronic damage to the endothelium. So this can cause first the endothelium damage. So in response to the injury, there are platelets and the monocytes which are come and attached to the endothelium, and that causing the endothelial dysfunction. After endothelial dysfunction, there are more proliferation of the smooth muscle, and smooth muscles are coming to the tunica intima from the tunica media to the tunica intima, and there is the macrophage activation and smooth muscle recruitment. This is very important part. After smooth muscle recruitment, there is the macrophage which engulf the more lipid. These are the lipid. So it engulf more and more lipid, both macrophage and the smooth muscle. So this is the next part, and also the T lymphocytes are coming into action in this stage of the formation of the atherosclerotic plaque. And then the fibrofatty atheroma. There is the fibrofatty atheroma formation. This is the cap formation. and this is the cap formation, and this is the lipid debris. um, Lipid debris. There is collagen component. Also T lymphocytes are present in both the arms of the atherosclerotic plaque, and this is the smooth muscles which are present here, and the smooth muscle proliferation, and ultimately this is the plaque which is formed. This is the pathogenesis, basic pathogenesis for the formation of the atherosclerotic plaque. The most extensively involved vessel are lower abdominal aorta. Abdominal aorta is more extensively involved. Then the coronary arteries, popliteal arteries, and the internal carotid arteries, and the vessels of the circle of Willis. So most important is the lower abdominal aorta. Abdominal aorta is more prone to formation of atherosclerotic plaque. And what are the components? What are the principal components of atherosclerotic plaque? First is the smooth muscle cell macrophage, T cells, then the extracellular matrix including the collagen, elastic fiber, and the proteoglycans, and next is called the intracellular and the extracellular lipid. There is both intracellular lipid and the extracellular lipid. Both act as a component for the formation of the atherosclerotic plaque, and the extracellular matrix including the collagen, elastic fibers, and the proteoglycans. Then this is the factors which are released which causing proliferation of the smooth muscle cells. These factors are released from the macrophages, and these are the interleukin 1, MCP1, and also the LDL act for that, and we know LDL is called the bad lipid for this reason, oxidized LDL. So macrophage release interleukin 1, MCP1, these are the inflammatory cytokines, and also the interferon gamma is also present. So these causing more proliferation of the macrophage and the formation of the foam cell, and also more proliferation of the smooth muscle. And this is a very important concept that is called type of plaques. One is the vulnerable type, one is the stable type. What is called the stable type? Stable type of plaque is called which is where there is more thickened cap is present, because when the cap is more thick, then there is less chance of rupture of the atherosclerotic plaque, because if there is rupture of the plaque, there is more chances for other complications like the aneurysm or the rupture of the vessel, and if there is aortic aneurysm and if it is ruptures, it is very deadly. If the patient is hospitalized, then also there is more chance of that the patient will not survive, and if it is not hospitalized, then it is obvious that the patient will die after some time. But if the cap is more thick, like there is more muscular component, then that is called the stable plaque. And if it is more thin, and there is more and more presence of inflammatory cells like the neutrophils or the macrophages, so there is more chance that the plaque will rupture after some time. So this is called the vulnerable type of plaque. So this is called the vulnerable type of plaque. This is the structure of the atherosclerotic plaque. This is the necrotic center, this is the necrotic center. This is our necrotic center, and this is the fibrous cap. This is the fibrous cap which is present here. Now the fate of the atherosclerosis. What are the fate of the atherosclerosis? That is, this is called the normal artery. This is the normal artery. This is the normal artery, and this is the fibrofatty plaque. Fibrofatty plaque. Normal artery can directly convert it into fibrofatty plaque, or it go through a path before it go and form the fatty streak, and after that it form the fibrofatty plaque. So fatty streak is not any pathological component. It is present almost every adolescent, male or female, or any child. So it is not a pathological component, but it is a factor which increases, and after many years it forms the fibrofatty plaque. And after fibrofatty plaque, there is formation of the advanced vulnerable plaque. Advanced or vulnerable plaque. There is inflammation, and there is plaque growth and remodeling of the plaque, wall of extracellular matrix deposition, which we discussed earlier. And when there is advanced or vulnerable plaque, there are three type of fate happen, and as an end result of the atherosclerosis, that is the aneurysm and rupture. If there is rupture, it is very deadly component, and then there is occlusion of the thrombus. There is occlusion of the thrombus that can also happen. Occlusion by the thrombus, the whole blood vessel is occluded. And another thing which can happen, that is the progression of the plaque. Plaque is progressed more and more, and there is critical stenosis of the blood vessel. When there is critical stenosis, that is more than 60 to 70% of the blood vessel is blocked. More than 60 to 70% of the blood vessel is blocked. That is called the critical stenosis. And when there is critical stenosis, there is very less blood go to the cardiac muscles. There is coronary vascular compromise, and that causing heart attack. So this is the picture of the fatty streak, and this is the histopathological component of that. Fatty streak is compromised of lipid-filled foamy macrophages. Elongated streak is 1 centimeter long and longer, and although the fatty streak involves the plaque, aorta of the infants can exhibit the fatty streak and such lesions are also present in virtually all adolescent. This is very important component. Those without any risk factor. The observation that coronary fatty streak begin to form in adolescent at the same anatomic sites that later tend to develop the plaque suggests that temporal evolution of this lesion. So from the fatty streak, in later stage it forms the atherosclerotic plaque. But fatty streak itself is not a pathological thing. It is not a pathological risk factor for any adolescent or any pediatric age group patient. Atherosclerotic plaque, it is not important. This is Framingham heart study. There is C-reactive protein component. So this is the main salient features and the main pathogenesis of the hypertension and also the atherosclerosis. I use many images to explain the atherosclerosis and the hypertension pathogenesis, and almost all images are taken from Robbins part 1 from the chapter of blood vessels. Robbins edition number 9, 9th edition. So I think it is very much helpful to the undergraduate students, particularly the second prop MBBS students, and also these are useful, and many questions are discussed which are many times came into AIIMS or NICET exam on the NEET PG exam, and which also will come in the next exams. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Goodbye.